Hello, LeadingAge attendees. My name is Dave Blanchard. I'm from Hamilton, CapTel. Thank you very much for joining us today to talk a bit about hearing loss and the effect it's having on our industry. You know, the pandemic of 2020 has brought about substantial changes in the lives of seniors and their families. Focused efforts on addressing social isolation and mental health have become the highest of priorities. Treatment of chronic conditions in senior living communities is more complicated than ever, with the safety measures needed to avoid COVID-19 infections that can be so deadly among seniors. As such, in some cases, visitation with residents is limited or no longer allowed. Caregivers are currently taking extraordinary steps to maintain a safe environment, not only for those residents, but themselves, staff members, and family members too. The ongoing treatment of chronic conditions is paramount to proper care, and yet there's one chronic condition that oftentimes comes in last place, and that condition is hearing loss. Hearing loss is a part of life for a substantial number of seniors aged 65 or older. And today, there are 52 million seniors that actually fit in that age band. And guess what? In 2060, we expect that number to go upwards of 95 million. That's a lot of hearing loss. So why is it often treated last? It really depends on the group. For veterans, it's often because chronic conditions such as PTSD or depression or wounds from warfare, they get treated first, and rightfully so. There are also other high priorities, such as the transition back to civilian life, focusing job skills from military service to the civilian workforce. Hearing loss from service to our country is oftentimes prioritized lower than these more prominent challenges. For other seniors, conditions like dementia, diabetes, and obesity need immediate and ongoing attention. And these days, with the pandemic, there are even more challenges associated, for instance, with getting to actually see an audiologist, not to mention the actual cost of a decent set of hearing aids. But things in the hearing industry are changing, and that's why we wanted to bring this up today. The hearing loss industry has had to adapt in a world where the intimate and close personal care of your ears may not be safe anymore. So what's changed, you might ask? I'd say just about everything. First, I'd like to introduce a new term, Tele-Audiology. The biggest shift in treating hearing loss right now is the availability of remote care. Audiologists can actually connect with patients on an iPad or other mobile device these days. Hearing tests can also be done using a Tele-Audiology interface offered by many audiologists for the first time. Think FaceTime meets your ENT. All work done is totally remote, and in some cases, they can even make adjustments to your hearing aids remotely as well. Another term you may have heard is OTC. Over-the-counter hearing aids were introduced this year as a more affordable option for the treatment of hearing loss. While perhaps not as sophisticated as more advanced technology, these hearing aids are accessible at places like Costco, Walmart, and online providers like Lively. And I'll talk a bit more about that in a bit. Now I'd like to talk a little bit about what else a hearing aid can do. Did you know that some of the more sophisticated hearing appliances can provide the streaming of conversations, music, and other voice input directly into the headset receivers of those new hearing aids today? And there are others that can offer features like fall protection that will inform you or family members if suddenly your balance is being affected on any given day. Now, what about those audiology practices? The one I mentioned before is Lively. Lively is one of the first hearing aid providers that has no brick and mortar stores. All services are rendered remotely by a network of hearing professionals who believe in high levels of service, high quality hearing products, and manageable costs by keeping that overhead low. Another one of the changes in the marketplace is digital caregiving. We all know about that. As a means to address shortages of caregivers, digital technology exists that works in concert with on-site senior living professionals. From sensor rugs to motion detectors, from pill dispensers to home health hubs that communicate with family influencers and staff, remote monitoring can be a great complement to exceptional staff and caregiving, because we all know there's actually 168 hours in every single week. In regards to hearing loss specifically, there is assistive technology which could be a Hamilton CapTel caption phone. Now, this is technology that's actually been around for 17 years, but it remains highly relevant and effective during the current pandemic because staying connected to family and loved ones is so important when visits are limited or they're not allowed. Now, last but not least, did you know you might be able to grow your hearing back? True story. There's stem cell technology right now and pharmaceutical products being developed that are intended to grow back or repair the tiny hairs inside your ears. And those hairs actually promote hearing. Imagine if we could grow that back. So to wrap up our thoughts here, there are studies that show evidence that the treatment of one chronic condition can have a positive effect on another chronic condition. Now, we're not saying if you treat hearing loss, it will have an impact on an individual's diabetes. Although, according to some of the reports on comorbidities, it sure could. What we are suggesting is that treatment of hearing loss will have many benefits, including, but certainly not limited to, the avoidance of social isolation, more impactful dialogue over the telephone or mobile devices, and a chance of delaying cognitive decline. So, next time you run into someone with noticeable hearing loss, let them know that there are solutions out there that can be put in place safely and effectively. We know firsthand that something as simple as getting back on the phone with loved ones can change a person's life. We're providing the links here to some of these resources so you can check them out yourselves. And in the meantime, please don't hesitate to reach out to us at the Hamilton CapTel booth here at LeadingAge or any of the links listed below. Thanks very much for your attention today. Sure appreciate your time. Have a great week at LeadingAge.